But I'll look after you until then.
How far is Savannah?
I've got a little girl I'm trying to protect in here, too. You want to get violent, you old fuck? Well, come on! Get away from her, you son of a bitch! Can you say it?
The Walking Dead Telltale series is one of my favourite games to look back on. It has such amazing storytelling and character development and such amazing characters in itself. And I feel like it's always so good to just look into a character sometimes. Last year I did Kenny, it's been a while, but this year I want to do Lee. Because Lee is, to me, is one of the most influential characters, not only in season 1, but in almost every season, as it affects Clem, and Clem always looks back on Lee. So, today we're doing a little bit of a deep dive onto who Lee is and what his tragic end truly meant. First off, I want to talk about the start of season 1, as it kind of indirectly tells us what this story is going to be about, more than just a zombie game, a new story of the Walking Dead. First off, Lee starts off season 1 on his way to prison. He's with an officer and they are both chatting about things that have happened, people that have gone to prison, and little hints here and there of what Lee truly did. It kind of hints us that he either attacked someone, murdered someone, but there's no direct answer to this point. During the conversation, the officer is distracted and last second sees a walker jump in front of the car. To him, thinking it's a person, he swerves out the way, crashing all the way down into a forest, and Lee wakes up, confused and scared, wondering what just happened. He sees the officer back through the window, laying down, looking like he's about to die, bleeding. He's confused. He goes to help him to find that it's a walker, not a human, and he shoots it with the officer's shotgun. In the distance, he sees a little figure. He's not sure what it is, so he goes to check it out while asking for help. Being chased by walkers and his injured leg, he tries to make it to the person, only to find an abandoned house with nobody in it, and a couple of voicemails indicating that a nanny and a little girl are living here. So he looks around the house to then see a walkie-talkie. He interacts with someone through the walkie-talkie, and that's where we get our introduction of Clementine, the person that Lee will treasure as the most important person in his life. Lee and Clem are two peas in the same pod. They are stuck together, they are meant to be met by fate, as both of them meet in the right conditions in the right time. It's almost as if they had to meet each other. Lee, on one hand, this is kind of like a new chance, a second life, something that before he didn't have, because he'd lost it all. Before the walker started, he had nothing left. Everyone was gone and he was by himself. While Clem, on the other hand, it wasn't by choice. She was forced to be by herself, and Lee kind of saved her from not only dying to walkers, but also learning how to survive this new life, this new experience that they have to overcome. To understand Lee here, we need to kind of go back a bit. Let's go back to before even season 1 happened. What are the events that take place? At the end of episode 1, we see where Lee is from. He's from Macon, a little city in Georgia. Might not be little, I'm just saying little. But he's from a city in Georgia, and we see his parents' place, or the shop they owned, and it's a pharmacy. The pharmacy holds all the memories of Lee's childhood, family, and you see that Lee was a part of that family. You learn that his brother used to work there and he died outside the pharmacy shop, while his parents most likely died in the shop while the father tried to protect his wife. As from what I can understand from every piece of information we got, Lee moved out of Macon and actually lived with his wife, working at the University of Georgia as a history teacher. He was very proud of his job and he loved his wife a lot and wanted to start a family. While Clem asked the right questions so we can understand what the story is, we kind of learn a little bit more backstory. We understand after the reason he was going to prison, which I'll explain a bit later, he wasn't able to see his family anymore, and his family didn't really want to see him ever again. So at that point, he kind of pushed away everyone and was by himself in that car. He had no one anymore to support him or care for him. So in the sense that this kind of incident that happened in the world, these walkers that started coming out of nowhere, it kind of gave a reason for Lee to try again, because he realized that he was free again and had a chance to create something when he had nothing left. That's why Clem is so important to him. It's another chance, a rebirth, a second opportunity of life, something that not many people are given, but he was luckily very much given, and he took advantage of that as much as he can. He tried his best to be the best he could be, and of course, depending on how the player plays the game, you can see a better version of him, one that's kinda more, caring to others even if they do bad to him, or you can see a very horrible version of him. The reason he got imprisoned, the person that was hostile and caused him to go to jail, would still be there, and if players pick an option where he's more aggressive, you kind of see that play out, and other characters treat you with the same aggression or disrespect compared to other players who chose the kind of options and got the kind of solution. So why did Lee go to prison? It's something that kind of questions you the whole game, because you know he's going to be there for a long time. It's kind of indirectly told to us by the officer. The reality of it is he was actually going to a life sentence. All this information you get picked up from by Claire, who was someone that lived in Macon and was a news reporter. She said that he killed the senator for having an affair with his wife. At this point, you have to see where Lee came from and why he would make that mistake. We're not really sure if it was an accident or it was truthful. There are little hints to say that it was an accident, he didn't mean to kill him, but the game itself shows a lot of incidents where Lee could kill someone if angered enough. For example, at the farm where they killed Mark, and they also attacked everyone and tried to hurt Clem. Andy was definitely chosen to either die or live, and you could choose that, of course, and it's kind of a big choice in the game. It shows evidence that Lee could either still be like he was, very angry and unable to control his emotions, or if he shows mercy to Andy, you see a new leaf of what he was becoming this whole game. And I feel like it's the better ending of the game, where he's not killing everyone he meets just because he hurts them, only if he has to, if there's no choice. Of course we have a choice. Some options we don't get a choice, and that's fine, that's fair enough, it's a part of the story. But when they give you a choice, you have to realize, why are they giving you a choice? Why has the game allowed you to choose to mercy someone even though they've done such horrible things? And it's because of one thing only, because it shows Lee's conscience. The choices you're given aren't just choices the game gives you, it's what Lee's thinking, and you can choose multiple different conversations, actions, events, anything, and depending on what you choose kind of shows the retribution of Lee. Where is he going to end up? Lee's conscience said, oh, I'm not going to kill Andy, because that would be the same situation as when I was with my wife and I killed the senator. I can't let this happen again. And now he has more writing on it because Clementine's watching. Clementine understands when things like this happen. Of course, Clementine is affected by this, as we see in the later games. Actions that are made do affect her. She still remembers if you make her eat the meat of human flesh. She still remembers that seasons later. So the actions you make, of course, affect the outcome of Clem, but also affect the ending to a degree. The ending is a big thing, and I will go really into depth of that later. But the ending really kind of makes more sense when you think about the accumulated actions that you have done throughout the game, whether they were positive or negative, more of the past or a new leaf for Lee. So depending on your choices, it really matters. Like, it really does matter to Lee's ending and how it affects it. Just going back a little bit, I didn't fully explain why the wife did that to Lee and had an affair with the senator. The real reason is because Lee wasn't there. He was working a lot, but he also wanted a family, which is something she didn't want. And that kind of accumulated to the point where she would want to have an affair to escape that life with Lee. That was Lee's true dream though, is to have a family, something that he wanted, but he couldn't ever achieve. And when he was in that car, you can see that he gave up. You can see that he just had nothing left and that's it. He was over. But the second he got out of that car, he kept moving. He could have just given up because he had nothing left, but he sensed that he was given another chance, so he took advantage of it. Yes, he was fearing death. That's normal. But once he met Clem, at that point he realized this could be my daughter. This could be my family. And throughout the game, you see that the link gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and Lee takes that father character and makes it into a thing, and Clem now sees him as a father figure, but also as like her best friend, someone that she can trust fully no matter what. And it kind of lives up to Lee's dream, what he wanted to achieve, and what he's so happy that he was able to achieve throughout the story of The Walking Dead. And it's something that you also see later on. We see other seasons where Clementine is talking to Lee instead of her real parents. People might say that it's just bad writing, or it's, you know, something that people forget about. They forget about Clem's parents. We don't really know because they died quite early on in the game, and we don't know what actually happened to them. We barely even hear about them besides seeing them as walkers at the end of the game. But that isn't the reason. The real reason is because Clem sees Lee as a father figure. That is the person that helped her survive through the whole Walker thing, and creates such a strong link that she might still think about her parents, but she has more of a recent memory of Lee. Lee is the standing point of Clem's life, and that's kind of a victory for Lee, because that's all he wanted, to be a father figure, to be someone that can care for someone else and, you know, nurture them and let them grow as a person so they can survive in this new world. But he got to achieve the fatherhood that he always wanted. Now, the end of the game, this is where the most important events happen. We see a lot of big ideas being brought forward and how they can achieve the true ending of the game. We're now in Savannah. This is where Clem's parents should be, and this is where Lee finds his demise. Lee looks for Clem after she went missing and is unable to find her. Confused, she looks outside, sees a hat, and picks it up, to be surprised with a walker. And at this point, everyone that played the game was confused also, because they thought, how can the main character be killed off now? There's no way we can do this. There's no way we can play the game knowing that Lee's gonna die eventually. Of course, the next episode starts and we're given a choice of keeping the arm or cutting it. And depending on your choice, it affects the way he attacks and the way he moves throughout the game, or whatever remains of the game. But that's not the important stuff. That's just the little details. The important stuff is the impact of how everything happened and why it happened the way it did. At this point of the game, Clem and Lee are very close, and Lee himself is completely a father figure and has completely forgot about Clem's parents. There is many times where you can just say, we'll try looking for them, but I don't think we can. We'll try looking for them, but I don't think we can. And Clem's loyalty, in a sense, or trust, kind of gets questioned here to Lee, because of course she wants to find her real parents. She wants to see if they're safe, alive, you know, doing well, and if she can go back to them. At this point, Lee's also scared though, because it's not really clearly said, but a lot of characters do ask you throughout the game, are you the father? You can lie, of course, but they always find out the truth. Of course they do. But he gets scared, I think, because he always goes, maybe we'll look for them. You know, he never gives a direct yes, we'll look for them and we'll find them, because he always goes back on that word. He can say yes, but he goes back on that word a lot. And I think it's because he doesn't want to lose his, you know, to him anyways, his daughter. He doesn't want to lose Clem, because that's the only thing that is family to him right now. Everyone else, you know, around him are just friends, people who are trying to survive. But Clem is the only family he has left. At this point, he doesn't want to lose her. So when she goes missing, she finds the hat and the radio saying that Clem is gone with this guy. He doesn't know who there is. He's gonna crash out. he cares for Clem, and this is like someone kidnapped his own daughter. So in a way, he's trying to resolve an issue that he's not really sure how to, and with a bite to the arm or to the wrist, he now has some heavy weights. And this is where you start seeing a different side of Lee, a desperate Lee, that even if in desperation his like ambition is beyond the roof. This man does some crazy acts by himself with especially if you have one arm. If you choose to cut his arm off, the acts he does, the things he does with just one arm, being able to climb a ladder for that long, bro. One arm is a lot to do. That's a lot of stuff, man. And to be able to make jumps with just one arm, like, oof. In my playthrough, I chose 2 arms, that's what you'll see. At this point of the game, Lee has no more choices left. The player can no longer choose if they should go after Clem or leave somewhere else, because that's what Lee wants. Now Lee is completely conscious in the idea of saving Clem no matter what happens. Whether he has people behind him or whether he goes alone, it doesn't matter to him. And he also kind of accepts the fact that he's going to die. There is no doubt about it. He accepts the fact that this is the last chance he has to see Clem, and the last time he has to even help Clem. So with everything he does and everything he can do, they find the location of Clem, which is at the Marshall Hotel, where this is where Clem's parents were at the start of the game when we hear them talk about it. This part of the game now links back to the end of season 2, where we see a car that has a bunch of loot in it, a bunch of food, supplies, anything and everything, and the player gets to choose to either take it or let it be. Of course Clem sees you choose it and will always go against your choice if you'll try and take it, but will accept it in the end. And it kind of foreshadows a little bit, not really a big deal, but it does foreshadow it, saying, you know, when we see them again, we'll give it back. It's a bit of short foreshadowing, because the owners of the car, the Mr. Stranger we'll call him, there's no real name or official name of him besides Stranger, he kidnaps Clem for the actions that Lee has been doing. And this is where we finally get a more clear definition of what the story truly is about, besides them trying to survive a walker invasion, a zombie invasion. There's a very deep conversation that happens between the Stranger and Lee. They meet up talking about fatherhood. One was a bad father and a bad husband, letting one of their child die, and the other one, and then after that both of them go missing because he fails to protect the car, which we took. And Lee was a bad father, not really a father yet, but a bad husband, because he didn't take enough care of his wife and maybe forced too much on her. I don't really agree with this. I think it's not fair for Lee to feel bad at this point, but at the same time he's just trying to save Clem no matter what, so we can't believe everything he says. But the Stranger kind of symbolizes what a father should be, not in a good way, but he tries to act like it. He says a lot of stuff about how, depending on your actions of course in the game, and now see they come back to the light depending how you pick and how rude or rough you are with everyone you meet, because he was listening the whole time through the walkie-talkie, and Clem kind of tells him a lot of information too. And this is where we get to the point of like, is Lee a good father? No matter what, the Stranger will always say you're a bad person. Doesn't matter. No matter how many good options you pick, no matter what, he will always in the end disagree with you and rather have Clem for herself instead of you having Clem, because he's trying to go through the same dilemma that Lee went through at the start of the game, of being wanting to be a father but having no one to father anymore because everyone in his family passed away or were killed or taken away, something like that. So Lee is judged by this man. Are you a good father? Have you done the right things? Have you let the Saint James or whatever they're called, the brothers, have you let them die? Did you kill them? How did you feel killing them in front of Clem? He tries to question your morality. Is that right? Are you not a monster compared to me? Everyone in this world is a monster now, but you are a bigger monster because you introduced this child to so much death and blood. But in reality, that was the only way Clem could grow as a character. As in season 2, I'll briefly mention it, there is a character that was not grown up in that way and was still grown up in the normal way, and you see how she turned out. She died really early on, I'll be honest. Not really. Actually, no, she didn't die really early on. But either way, she died because she was unskillful and insufficient compared to Clem, which was younger, by the way. As much as the stranger was trying to victimize, everything that happened to him because of Lee, and was trying to say that Lee was the issue, the reason why his life went so badly, and now he needs to take care of Clementine because he can't trust someone like Lee to take care of Clementine. It's actually quite wrong, because the events that take place in that room, he's talking to, by the way, little Easter egg, little bit of information. The stranger has his wife, zombie head, in a bag talking to it while he's distracted doing that, by the way. That's when Clem attacks. But he's talking to her head. That's, he's crazy. Compared to Lee, where he's never doing weird stuff like that. Being irrational, crazy. He's pushing forward, trying to save Clem. Anyways, Clem attacks the stranger. That one line, that one point, shows the growth of Clementine as a character and shows the effects Lee has done to Clem. Clem was comfortable enough to attack a stranger, possibly kill them, and depending on how the fight goes, the stranger is either killed by Lee or Clem. But the fact that Clem even can kill a character, and that is her first official human character that she kills, it's a big deal, because the reason she killed him is because he was trying to save Lee. So, going back to the start where I was talking about how he wanted to be a father and wanted to, change his life and have a new life, it's proven he's succeeded. He created a bond so strong that a child was able to risk her own life and kill someone to protect his life. In a world where, she's young, she's only 8 years old, 9 years old, she shouldn't be able to do that kind of stuff, but Lee matured her and made her so much better than she actually was, and improved her survival chances and taught her how to use a weapon, how to use a gun, cut her hair. All that stuff was because Lee cared enough to enforce it, where a lot of other parents, like Carlos from season 2, Carlos didn't want to teach anything like that and wanted to keep that kind of world away from her. But Lee chose to tell Clem the truth of the world, and that's one big thing the game always kind of pushes. If you tell the truth, Clem will respect you and understand you and trust you a lot more than if you keep trying to kid it way out, try to tell the fake truth, try to act like she's still a kid and make it butterflies. Okay, now we're gonna get to the end point here. This is the last point of the video. This is the last point of Lee's life. So Lee and Clem are evading everything. They're covered in zombie blood. They figure out the tactics. They're trying to get out of there. And before Lee passes out because of his infection, because of the virus, because of the walkers, Clem sees her real parents and she's shocked, confused and sad. Lee of course tries to cover her eyes and tell her to keep moving. That's our sympathy. But notice how when Clem takes Lee back to the little jewelry shop or whatever type of shop that is, and Clem wakes up Lee, and Lee goes, "Oh, how do we get here, blah blah." She says, "I saw my parents, they're walkers, they're dead." And but it is what it is. That's pretty much what she says. It is what it is. I have to just keep moving forwards. And Lee kind of encourages, it's and you need to keep moving forwards. But then you find out that Lee can't, and he explains the whole situation and why he's like this, and he tells Clem that I'm also bit. I am going to die too. Clem, of course, horrified because that's not what it's not what she wanted. She's taken a lot for her last day with Lee. She sees a lot of stuff happen. She kills someone, sees her dead parents, and now she's about to see Lee dead. That's a lot. But what Lee tells Clem to do, it kind of goes back to the start of the game. So Lee's trying to guide Clem now so that Clem can survive and move on and find the other two people. I forgot their name, sorry. But they're trying to find a way out, and he tells Clem, "Lock me up, put that on my wrist and lock me up so I can't hurt you." So the cuffs go on Lee. And now think back to the start of the game. What happens? Lee is in cuffs. It's a cycle. It's a cycle of his life, and you realize that this whole time Lee was still doomed. He was still gonna end up, as a life sentence. But the life sentence can be reverted. So, we just talked about how Lee was about to die, and he's trying to get Clem out, but his death is linked back to the start because of the cuffs. The cuffs symbolize that he's back to how he started, and he's back, imprisonment. He's stuck there, he can't move. But the only difference, just a little difference here, is that he's achieved what he could. And instead of him being by himself for the rest of his life, it's now going to be possibly Clem is going to be by herself for a while. The only difference from the start to the end, though, is he can escape. So there is a way for him not to be in prison at life. And it's the final choice the game gives you to do. The final big choice. And that's Lee saying, Clem and my life. Kill me off and my life. And that is it. That's the end of the game. And you realize why that's so important is because if you think about it a bit more deeper, if he was to be not killed, he'll become a walker, and at that point he truly would be stuck there for life. And then in season 4 you kind of get more of an idea of what Lee was feeling, or what Lee could have been when the man in the mask, I forgot his name too, it's been a while, sorry, but the guy in the mask is able to control walkers by whistling and making noises. It's similar to that in the sense of Lee could be stuck there. Even if a little bit of conscience stayed with him, he could be stuck there for the rest of his life. And the whole point of the game was not pointless, but Lee never got his rebirth, his second chance, his chance to make amends with the mistakes of his past. But with the ending alone of shooting Lee, he is no longer stuck in the cycle. He's finally broken free. And it's a bit of symbolism in the sense of that you can make mistakes in life, but you need to break free of them. And Lee finally breaks free by just knowing that he's back to where he started. He said, I can't do this again. I can't make that mistake. And he couldn't risk anything. Couldn't risk him turning into a walker and hurting Clem in some way or form. He had to just end it before it got to the point where he had no control. And that's the whole amazing part of Telltale. He was about to lose control. The player is about to lose control. So he told the game to end. So the cycle ends. And that is the tragic end of Lee Everett. Okay, I about went a bit off script there, but I got really passionate about what I was talking about. But if you guys like this video, please show a bit of love, show a bit of, suggestions, feedback, whatever you guys think will improve it. I really enjoy this type of videos, and I probably will make more. But if you guys enjoyed, thank you guys for watching, and peace.